So the approach I took with Dakshana was that I'm a guy sitting in shorts in California, and I don't have much. I didn't understand a whole lot about what is involved in India and so on. What I had understood at that point with Dakshana was that I was familiar with the Super 30 model. Have most of you heard of Super 30? Yes. Anand Kumar, and I'm going to see him later today. So I was familiar with Super 30. I obviously was familiar with the IIT. I was also familiar with the fact that the IIT is a strict meritocracy, where basically if you do well on the test, you get in, and it doesn't matter if you're the Prime Minister's son or Ambani's son. If you don't do well, you're not getting in. It's a very clean system. And I was also aware that if you get into the IITs, there is a very high subsidy by the government. And I think I have no control over that, but I think it's a stupid policy where the government subsidizes everyone, right? So if I am Godredge's son and I can pay full fare, I have no ability to pay full fare. The government gives me the same deal as some poor farmer's son. And so, in effect, that is a misguided public policy. But that's a topic for another day. But so I saw the Super 30 model, I saw the power of that model, I saw that the hiccup, I would say the IITs were meant to be taking the best talent of the country and producing engineers. But what had happened is it became taking the best talent amongst middle class or higher from urban areas, and then producing engineers in that pool. So it ignored large portions of the population. It ignored the poor, it ignored rural, and so on. And I felt that if we are able to get kids into IIT, for a very small amount of money spent, you can actually lift a family from poverty. So for example, I'll give you a simple situation. Dakshana spends about, and I'll get to your question of what we did in the first 12 weeks, but I just want to give a context of where we're coming from. So Dakshana spends about, let's say, 1 lakh to 1.25 lakh per scholar we take on to get them prepped for IIT. And typically, we are now getting about 60-70% of them in. And even the rest of them, the 30% who don't get in, are going to NITs and other schools. So almost 100% are going to engineering schools. And the 1.25 lakh that we spend, in effect, forces the government to spend like 25 to 30 lakhs on that kid. Because once he gets into IIT, that is a subsidy. 6 or 8 lakhs a year is what is costing the government. And so I'm happy to spend 1 lakh if the government spends 25 or 30 lakhs, a good number for me. But if you think about, and we are able to basically lift a family from poverty from scratch. I mean, we had a kid who joined Dakshana in 2010. His father is a very poor tailor in a slum in outskirts of Hyderabad, making less than 4,000 rupees a month. We prepped the kid for 2 years, from 2008 to 2010. Then he took the IIT entrance exam. He got a rank of 63 out of 500,000, our best performing guy. Then he went to IIT Bombay Computer Science. He finished this year, 2014. And Google interviewed him by Skype from Mountain View, and they hired him. And then they had visa issues, so they moved him to London. I think his starting salary is 100,000 US dollars a year. First month, he moved his parents out of that place that they were living. Second month, they put a down payment on a house they're going to own. So they moved to a rental, they moved to a house now. And the third month, he's getting his father moved from working as a tailor for someone to being on his own. His own tailoring shop, right? So we are seeing, you're going from like $80 a month to $8,000 a month. And the whole thing costs $2,000, right? So there's a great model. So I knew that the model is good, but I had no understanding of how to execute the model. So what I did is, this is what happened in the first 12 weeks. I contacted some friends I knew in the US who were IIT grads because वो कहते हैं ना खालिद ये ना थी हमारी किस्मत कि IIT की crack होता. So I'm not an IIT grad, but I have friends who are IIT grads, and I told them, hey, I basically want to find poor kids. And there was an industry. There's an industry in India where I can pay coaching institute in Kota 1 or 2 lakhs, and they'll train them, right? So the industry is there. All I needed to do was find bright poor kids and send them to Kota. This was the original model I had in my mind. Send them to Kota, pay room and board and everything, and then 2 years they'll take the exam and we'll see what the returns are and what the results are and all of that. And over time, we are ready to lose money for 15 years. Over time, we'll improve the model and such. So I only had this model in mind, but I had no one in India. I wasn't going to move to India, none of that. So I talked to some of my IIT friends, and I said, look, I would like to find someone in India who can be a consultant or be a helper for me, who can help me starting to put some of these pieces together. And I've had a lot of experience with startups. And so one of my friends who's from IIT Madras, he said, okay, write up something, I'll put it on some IIT Madras alum message board. There is this NGO who wants this and that. And so I wrote up some blurb of what I wanted to do, and he put it on that message board. And one person responded. So this guy was about 67 years old. He was a retired guy, and he had graduated from IIT Madras. And he said that, hey, I like your cause, and I'm in Bangalore and I'm idle, and tell me what to do. I'll do it. So I told him, okay, here's what we'll do. I said, I want you to be a consultant. Okay, you're a consultant to Dakshana. I had already formed the foundation in the US. I said, you're a consultant, and every day you work for Dakshana, I'll pay you 5,000 rupees. Okay, and every hour you work for Dakshana, I'll pay you 800 rupees. So if you work 3 hours, you just keep track of your time, and end of the month, we'll send you the money. And so he didn't really care about the money, but he said, fine, no problem. That sounds fair to me. So I said, here's the problem I want you to solve. I want you to figure out how we can find poor kids who are smart, right? And I had 1 or 2 ideas. So I said, one idea I have is that there must be kids showing up at these coaching institutes who want to get admitted but cannot pay the fees, right? So I said, and I said all expenses are paid. So if you're traveling or flying anywhere, whatever, all paid. And I got him a credit card, which was a Dakshana credit card. I said, direct bill, if you're taking a flight, whatever, you don't need to. You have no risk of an invoice being unpaid. Okay, you can just direct bill. And so he became a traveling salesman. He was going around, and I said, go to Kota, meet all the coaching institutes, tell them you want to do this, ask them if they have kids that they run into, whatever. And so he started having a number of meetings with different coaching institutes saying, look, if you find people who cannot pay, we can pay, and it's helpful to you because you'll get better students and all that. And these guys listened to us, and we actually got our first scholar from Bansal classes. So we met Mr. Bansal, and the coaching institute have a short memory. So just that afternoon, some family showed up and they had no money and all that, and they were crying in front of them and all that. They said, bhej do unko, Ramesh aaya tha, usse baat kara. So Ramesh met these people and said, they seem to be very poor, the kid has qualified in the Bansal test. So, like I said, we are not concerned about risk. I said, support him. Tell him we'll pay for everything and admit him and all that. So he became our first scholar. We admitted him to Bansal classes. We got him set up in a dorm over there, and he got going. And as this guy was meeting more and more people, the name of this school system, Jawahar Navodaya Vidyalaya, started coming up in multiple conversations. Multiple people told him, you should look at JNB. And he had never heard of JNB. So when the third guy told him that, he took a note and did some research, and he found that there is a school system in India called Jawahar Navodaya Vidyalaya. Some of you might know. Are there Dakshana scholars here? And which JNVs are you from? Can you say which state and district you are from? Pardon?
JNV Nadia, West Bengal.
Okay, and you?
JNV West Champaran, Bihar. JNV Durg, Chhattisgarh.
Okay, so there are 550 JNVs in the country, and they are in every district, almost every district in India. And basically, these schools are phenomenal. I mean, I would say that if you visit a JNV, you would find it hard to believe that the government of India has actually executed such a phenomenal system. The schools are fantastic. It's a magnet system, so 2 million kids, 20 lakh kids a year in 5th standard take a language and independent IQ test. And like the IITs, the testing is absolutely corruption free. And all the results get tabulated in Delhi. And they admit the top 2% of the kids. So out of 2,040,000 kids get admitted into 550 JNVs across the country. And so you have to be from that district to go to that JNV. So typically, let's say there's a district in Jaipur. आप कौन से district से? Nadia. So Nadia में how many kids take the test every year in 5th standard?
More than 1,000.
More than 1,000. And that's a low number. And what about you?
Nearly 8,000 to 13,000.
Okay, and which district you say you're from?
West Champaran.
Bihar.
Yes.
Right. Okay, so if you look at the West Champaran district, there are like, let's say 10,000 kids from that district who are taking this test in 5th standard, and they can take it in one of 14 languages, and they are only admitting 80 of those kids. Okay, so you have to be super smart to be admitted. आप smart हो ना? कौन से आप which college did you go to?
Now I am in NIT West Bengal.
Okay, and what about you?
Assam.
Okay,
IIT Bombay, I passed out last.
where are you at now?
Bank of America.
Alright, congratulations. So basically, once we found the JNVs, once this guy found out the system, so he said, look, this system is in rural India. It's in all God-forsaken places, nowhere near any civilization. And it is only attractive for people who are in rural India who don't have that much money, or because they're not going to send. It's an integrated system, they're scheduled caste, scheduled tribe. So if you have any caste-based issues, I mean, your kid's going to be sleeping next to a scheduled tribe or scheduled caste kid. All of that is fully integrated. So it is not an attractive school system for affluent people to send their kids to. But it's a very good school system for poor people to send their kids to. And the government does a pretty decent job. The teachers are hit or miss, but you get great talent in. So once we found JNV, then what Ramesh did is, and he's on the 5,000 rupees a day on this thing, and so he went to Delhi, and we were lucky. We met two guys who were senior. One was the commissioner of the JNV system, and the other was the head of academics. We had a startup, unknown, right? I got him a business card which says Mohnish Pabrai consultant, right, on Dakshana, and he said, look, we want to do this, and can we work with your school system, and can we test your kids and then find them and so on. So they listened to him, and the JNVs had a problem. The problem they had is they had all these very bright, they knew that kids were very bright, but after 12th standard there was nothing, right? The kids finished after, and they're in the middle of nowhere. I mean, if you're in West Champaran, Bihar, IIT coaching है West Champaran to Bihar में? नहीं. How far is the closest coaching center?
200 kilometers.
Okay, so there you go. So you have these, 10,000 kids, you pick the 80 kids. There is no chance, even if you had the money, to get any IIT coaches, right? So they knew that problem, and so what they said to us is, okay, we'll do an MOU with the unknown Dakshana, and we'll set up like one school in each region. There were 8 regions in India, and we'll have you test the best kids in each region, and then we'll take 40 kids in each region and move them to that one school, and Dakshana will provide the faculty and all of that to run the program. That's how we started in 2007. And we had no expertise. So by this time, about 9 or 10 weeks had passed. And in the 9 or 10 weeks, I think maybe 60,000 rupees or 80,000 rupees had been spent. In terms of, and Ramesh came to me after about 10 weeks and said, we have to bring this monthly or the daily billing to an end because I can't keep track of the hours and all, and it's taking too much of my time. I need to go full time. So I switched him to 1 lakh a month. I said full time, fine. You're full time, and I told him move to quota. I still was focused on the quota thing, so he moved with his wife to quota, and we got the MOU done with the JNV system, and so March of 2007, we had started Dakshana's operations. By June, we had the first caller, and by September, we had 320 kids we had selected from the JNVs, and we had moved them to the 8 schools. And what we had done in Kota is we had signed contracts with all these coaching institutes to provide faculty at these locations. So basically my take was all of these pieces just needed check writing ability. And I knew I had check writing ability. Right? I didn't have any ability beyond that, but we could write checks. And we were up and running. And then what happened is that lots of these coaching institutes did a very poor job. They sent bad faculty. They could not. What we found is that when we are doing coaching in Assam, for example, people would say, yes, I'll do all this stuff and this is the thing. They would take the money, send us invoices, and then useless faculty or incompetent faculty would show. And so what ended up happening is, like, for example, in Assam, for example, we had 40 kids, and only about, I think, 6 kids first time made it to IIT, right? But in other regions, it was a little bit better. I think first batch, 22% of that batch went to IIT. And I knew that we had seen a lot of problems to get even to 22. So I knew that if we had better faculty and better things going on, it would improve. And my take is that in any business or anything I'm running is all I care about is that the next year is better than this year. So we just started to chop some wood and go on. So we became lucky. So, the first 12 weeks I found this guy, honest guy, simple guy, and he was doing his thing. We got the MOU done with the government. We got the scholars. And one of the things that works, and I'm sure, what year did you guys finish your coaching with Dakshana?
2012.
2012, what about you?
2009.
So आप 2009 में कहाँ पर कोच हुए थे? Where was your center? Cuttack, right? And were there problems? Lot of problems. He is the first batch. Okay, so how many of your batchmates went to IIT?
On that year or?
Yeah, that year.
Very few, 4 or 5.
There you go. Right. So, and Cuttack we had smart kids, good batch. And so what we did is we basically just then worked on the model to improve the model because we knew the talent was there, we knew that all of the pieces were there, and then we just worked on, okay, now let's just keep improving the yields and all that and work on it. So that's, it's always better to be lucky than to be good. So I think, Sanjay, we should...
I'll not waste too much of time, and I'll just ask you a simple question. How did value investing impact you in a personal level?
How did value investing impact you on a personal level?
What choices you make as a value investor that impact you personally speaking that you would have made otherwise?
Okay, well that's a good question. I might have to think about it for a second. I would say that. Let me put it this way. I would say that value investing led me to Warren Buffett and Charlie Munger, and I picked up a whole bunch of values which have nothing to do with investing from these guys, right? And I saw specifically in actually both their cases that they really didn't care about the money they were making. I mean, I think it's a way of giving score for them, especially Warren. But it has very little impact on their lifestyle. They're not really spending the money, going to give it away, and all those sorts of things. And so I think some of that has rubbed off on me, probably not to the extent that it's with them. So I think it grounds you. I think some of those, if you pursue value investing, you cannot pursue it without understanding Warren Buffett and Charlie Munger. If you understand them as people and as humans, they're as high a quality as you can possibly get. And if you emulate their qualities which are unrelated to investing, the only thing that can happen is it can improve your life. So I think for me personally, there would not have been, for example, there would not have been a Dakshana if I were not influenced by Warren Buffett, right? So that is not Warren Buffett, the value investor. That's Warren Buffett, the philanthropist, right? And so I wouldn't have had the values of, the fallacy of having large inheritances. My kids are not interested in large inheritances, as neither am I. And again, that has come through because of the influence of Warren and Charlie. So I think there's many things that I picked up from them that either I'd never paid attention to or I never thought about. And so that's been useful. And with that, thank you very much. It was a pleasure.